Hello guys, welcome to BTV Nigeria channel. If you know this is your first time be on this channel, please don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button section and don't forget to press the icon bell notification so that whenever I upload a new video, you will be the first person to be notified. As you do, may God bless you abundantly. Amen. Yeah, the video you are about to watch now is a video of the real meaning of democracy. What is democracy? Democracy is rule of law in a real sense. Yes. And any country who does not obey the rule of law, which means the country does not have democracy, just like Nigeria government. They don't have it. Start from the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the one that swear Tinubu in, because I wish there is rule of law. I don't see reason why Chief Justice will swear Tinubu in on May 29. Do you understand? They stole our mandates. They stole it. They stole Nigerian mandates. And now we are pleading with the judiciary. Judiciary, I personally am pleading with you. You guys should do the right thing. Just do the right thing. Do the needful for once. For the sake of peace of Nigeria and for the betterment of Nigeria now and our generation to come. You guys have to think about the generation, the future. You people have to do the needful. You understand? That is what we ask for. And secondly, why you guys are keeping waiting? Why can't you just give the judgment? Must you guys complete 180 days? Must you? All the evidence Peter will be presented to you. All of that is with you guys. You people know the truth. Let me tell you guys, this is not answers. This is not answers. This is a bad Nigeria future. This is a bad Nigeria descendants to come, for God's sake. We are not playing. This time around, we are not playing. We are so very, very serious. We are very serious. Now what? Well, guys, let me leave you with the video. Thank you.
So what is democracy?
Well, I don't want to fixate myself in some of the definitions of democracy because actually the most popular for now is the one by Abraham Lincoln. It is that democracy is for the people, by the people. That's the most popular definition. My problem is not just about the semantics. My problem is in the substance of these practices. You say we practice democracy. As long as you do not have the tenets of democracy, the principles of democracy in our land, then what we are practicing cannot be democracy. There are three major things that for me defines if a country is practicing democracy or not. Three things. Number one, rule of law. Number two, separation of power. Number three, the power of the people. The power of the people. There is no rule of law in this country. And any country where there is no rule of law, there is no democracy. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Any country that there is no rule of law, there is no democracy. What we have in this country is rule by law. According to Professor Lee Shiguang, rule by law is suppressing the people by the instrumentality of the law. What we have in this country is using the law as a weapon, using the law as a tool to suppress the people. The weaponization of the law is never the rule of law. Using the law to track down enemies, to suppress people who are government critics is not the rule of law.
So what is the rule of law?
The rule of law is equality before the law. The rule of law is subordinating arbitrary power to the dictate and the context of the law. And that means that the rule of law indicates that everyone is equal to the law. Nobody is bigger than the law. And in that situation, can we say we have rule of law in this country? The law is selective. Anywhere the law is selective, anywhere the law bites when some people commit crime, and the law does not bite, the law goes to sleep when others commit crime, there is no rule of law. Anywhere anybody can be above the law because of his status, there is no rule of law. The difference between the developed world and the developing world, as a matter of fact, we are not developing, so we can't be in that category of developing world. We are actually a retrogressing world. From 1960 till this time, we have not developed. We have been going backwards. So the difference between the developed world And the retrogressing wall is the rule of law. And until we have rule of law, there cannot be development in this land. Number two, there must be separation of power.
But we have separation of powers in this country.
The concept of separation of power, as propounded, as popularized by Baron Charles Montesquieu, is one of the vocal concepts that underlies the practice of democracy. Separation of power. The three arms of the government must be independent, not completely independent. There must be interdependence, but the basic underlying principle is that every arm of government is a check on the other arm. Checks and balances are the basis of the concept of separation of power. And if it is not there, then there is no democracy. Our country is operating a mimicked separation of power. The executive has too much power. We should bring down the powers of the executive because it's a federation. A federation means that we have component parts that share power. That is what it means. It does not mean allocating power to the federal government so the will so must get. That's why we have a lopsided fiscal federalism regime. And that is one of the problems of our system. The executive has too much power. Can you imagine a situation where a state governor buy cars for judges? You say the state government has built estate for judges. That is an aberration. The judicial arm of government must not derive anything from the executive in terms of funding. Funding should come direct. He who pay the piper dictates the tune. There must be separation of power. The legislature cannot be schoolboys, messengers to the executive. When you have a legislature that is playing to the whims and caprices of the executive, we are not saying that they should fight. But this last legislature is a puppet of the executive, and that is an aberration, and that cannot be democracy. We must rethink our system. We must rethink our constitution and reason how we can begin to practice democracy the way it is. Once there is no proper separation of power, there is no democracy. Number three, and the last for now, is the power of the people. Any democracy that has removed the power from the people, then that is no more democracy. If the people do not have the power to sack, the power to employ, the power to fire, the power to redeploy, the power to install, then that is no more democracy. The last electoral act that was just passed is a mockery of democracy because the entire document has been mocked by the fact that the first testament of that electoral act was the fact that we had primaries in both parties of PDP and APC, and then we also had the elections that took place in Ekiti State. These were all marks of the failure of the electoral act. We have graduated from rigging of election to mercantile, transactional, mercenary election. Any kind of monetized process of getting a candidate for any party is a perverted process. If you emerge through monetary allurement, it is not democracy. This electoral system where people buy votes, people that should be arrested are people that are being celebrated every now and then. That is a travesty. That is a mismatch. That cannot be called true democracy. If we continue and we don't condemn this mercantile democracy that we have in this country, if we don't condemn it, an armed robber who has money can buy his way to become the president of this country. That is a travesty of the tenets and the standards of democracy. But I want to make this very clear to everyone that there is a new dawn in our political landscape. The young people of this country who have been victims of bad, lackluster leadership, the young people of this country who came into this world to see that there was no light in the country, to see that there was no job in the country, to see there is economic retardation, economic retrogression, to see that there is political instability. The young people who grew to see dilapidated, ramshackle and decrepit road network, the young people who grew to see wicked leadership in this country have a reason to say we can no longer be subjugated. We can no longer be subverted. We can no longer be pulverized. It is time to assert ourselves and make inroads and make statements in our political landscape. Any attempt to silence the voice of the young people of this country will be met with equal revolutionary response. And that is the problem with us. The time for the old regime who are interfering with our political process and has brought this country to this level of degradation. Such people should be retired from now. It is time for the young people to arise. And it is time to make the statement that the change, the true change that we desire in this country, it is time to assert ourselves, to experience and to manifest that change. No man should suppress the young people. The electoral process must not be subverted. Give the people the right and the opportunity to exercise their franchise, and we'll see what will happen. The revolution in our political process has actually started. Let us wait and see what will happen. There is a new dawn. And I hail all the young people